What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Stochastic YouTube channel with another edition, the Tour Championship edition of PGA Tour Reignmakers. I should be able to say it. I've covered enough of these. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here. A little neck of the YouTube woods. As you can see, I'm starting to build out the studio. It's still a little echoey. We're trying to get the kinks out before, of course, NFL season, because NFL season is going to be fantastic here in the Rainmaker streets. I'm going to be breaking down NFL, I'm sure, on this program, on the live program that I've got going. And in fact, let's just add this to the lovely screen right now. Preseason NFL, you can fire this up right now. Jump on into the fray, friends. The water is warm. Also, you can win yourself a lot of prize party packs. Start to build out your collection. Featured player Joe Burrow core. That's an IOU. It's as good as money. We've got Justin Fields Elite. You could go out and win yourself one of those puppies. That would be lovely. Christian Watson Legendary. Oh boy, a pretty cheap stack you could get. Actually, Jordan Love's going to end up being expensive by the end of the year. And I say this as a Viking fan who wishes that he was worse than he looks, because he's looked pretty good in the preseason. Anywho, friends, check out the players page here. This is also another great entity that is very underutilized. I talked about it ad nauseum, at length, over on the live show, which was also a solo show this week. Greg Ehrenberg's birthday. Happy birthday to... I'm not going to do that. PGA Tour. And that is where, my friends, you can see the Tour Championship. There are 30 golfers, but only 28 this week. No Ricky Fowler, no Jordan Spieth here in the Rainmaker streets, but everybody else available. And that is where we begin our tour right here, because Scotty Scheffler now $13.40 could be the last time you're rostering him in Rainmakers this season. Again, there's going to be the Ryder Cup. Not going to be any Rainmakers for that. You'll get the CJ Cup coming up later. But for all intents and purposes, PGA Tour season, this is the biggie. You got 30 golfers in the field. And if you have Scotty Scheffler, which of course we're going to be building out here for the Tour Championship, he is leading because they have this crazy batshit craziness thing that they're doing. I guess, do you see what I've said about that? Where they start 10 under, 8 under, 7 under, so on and so forth, all the way. Oh, you got to check my location. Location, friends. But the PGA Tour Championship, for those who don't know, you're basically going from what you had been accumulated in points, and you're getting an assigned score relative to par before you even tee off, which doesn't matter in terms of accumulating birdies, in terms of everything else, but it matters for placement points. You're going to get placement points from the get-go by rostering Scotty Scheffler or whomever else, because, well, they're going to have a much better chance at finishing first because they're near the top there. And Scotty Scheffler, in terms of DraftKings odds relative to that, there are 72-hole odds for the tournament, and then there's also odds for their chance to win the Tour Championship, because everybody has a chance technically, even though that's not necessarily true. You are looking at an opportunity where Scotty Scheffler needs to be in your lineups, because he's going to be 10 under, and, well, it's going to be there. But I'm actually not going to be playing him in the captain spot, because I do expect his captain ownership to be through the roof yet again this week. He looked awesome last week, and we saw Rory struggling on the greens. But you know where he hasn't really struggled in his career? East Lake Golf Club. That is what I'm talking about. Even though it's, under 7,400, even though it's not, hey, you need to go out and bash. You can just bash driver on every hole anyway. It's like water on 8. There's water on 9, but you're not going to reach it. He's very good at golf is what I'm getting at. 18, the old number 9. Number 9, because now 9 is the 240-yard par 3 that they used to close on. But Rory McIlroy, friends, he did not putt well last week. There's nobody who's going to say that. I'm not going to say that, but I definitely love his pedigree around this golf course. He's played it so well, so many times, went toe-to-toe with Scotty Scheffler. And when building out my single entry lineup, I'll choose other ways to get different that are not with these two lovely gentlemen. Victor Hovland, hey, he's playing pretty good right now. Hansel, he's so hot right now, that kind of a deal. But I'm starting with Victor Hovland as a kind of go-to guy in my year-long stuff, not year-long stuff, the DFS stuff. Oh, no, I said year-long. My year-long leagues for golf were dead after like 2 weeks because I didn't hit the John Rahm nuke that you needed at the early season for people who play the salary game. You know what I'm talking about. Shout out Pat Mayo. Real ones know. But Victor Hovland, feeling pretty good about his form, huh? 61 in the final round. 4th in terms of strokes gained off the tee, 7th strokes gained approach. Lots of ways to skin a cat over here. I hate that analogy, but it's probably the right one here. Lots of ways to skin a cat on East Lake. I think he kind of fits the mold of a guy who's going to be good off the tee, and then he just puts the lights out of it. And I think it's probably the most underrated part of his golf game. Even though 19th in strokes gained putting amongst this field, you're talking about 30 of the best players on planet Earth. And I still like the way that it's been spiking here in the last couple of weeks. It looks really, really good. So, let's utilize it in single entry. Again, I'm building out my single entry lineup. You know how I do things here. Should have probably explained that from the get-go. Xander Schauffele, somebody else that I want to have be a part of my repertoire here at East Lake. Once again, has tons of experience playing this track. Doesn't have any of the Bermuda. It's interesting because a lot of my large field tournaments, and we'll get to that in the next portion of this program, where I give you my expensive buy if you're looking to invest this week, medium buy, low buy. Again, this is your weight, baby. You better jump in now. But I do like Xander Schauffele, just like most people do. He's rather good at golf. 2nd in terms of strokes gained amongst his field in putting. 5th in strokes gained approach. 6th in DK scoring over his last 50 rounds. Gotta like that. Gotta like that. Around the green was not good at the BMW. Otherwise, he probably would have been competing there. Actually, no. Victor Hovland just was going to beat anybody on Sunday. So we're just going to accept that. But Eric, look at this. You just got really, 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 really interesting stuff there. I'm actually going to go to somebody that I don't have cards of, but it's somebody that I'm hoping people end up selling cards for very, very cheap as we get closer to the Tour Championship. Bermuda Burns, not going to play him in single entry this week, but this is my dude. I am going to buy so much Lucas Glover this week. I'm going to probably play him in 3 or 4 lineups amongst, how many cards did I have? 26 more. I've built out some. I've gone through some iterations of what I want to do, and I'm not going to share everything this week that I plan on doing, mainly because, well, there's only so many permutations and iterations of lineups. But if you guys do want to get my exact process that I'm planning, I'm going to that players page. I'm breaking down by how many people own the specific cards, because you can literally see that directly on the players page. I'll do that before we jump over to the large field build and the buys for the week. But Lucas Glover, back on Bermuda. Last week, I'm just completely writing off bent grass. A little bit different beast for those who don't play golf. You don't have to read grain. It generally, it's just one of those things where I think with Bermuda, especially like smoothed out Bermuda, there's just like certain things you get used to reading on the green. And you don't have to necessarily just say, oh, it's all my stroke if you miss a putt here or there, because you're just kind of trusting your process. And Bermuda, you're going to get some interesting breaks. On bent, you got to get in your head because it should be rolling out perfectly, and it tends to, and you don't have to be thinking nearly as much about grain. And yet, somehow, some way, it's harder to putt on it because it can get lightning quick in a way where Bermuda, it's just hard to ramp up Bermuda to a 13 or a 14 on the stim meter. Again, a lot of individual golf analysis here. What I'm getting at, friends, is Lucas Glover, 28th amongst this field over the last 50 rounds. There are only 30 players playing, so that should tell you that's not good in terms of strokes gained putting. But over his last few events on Bermuda, gained 3.1 at the FedEx St. Jude FedEx Classic. There you go. FedEx St. Jude Classic. There it was. 3.1 strokes gained putting, and then 4.9 at the Wyndham. Won both of those events. Seems good. Seems good. He actually had some good putting weeks on bent. Rocket Mortgage, John Deere, 5.4 and 3.6. But I think Olympia Fields, as easy as Victor Hovland and Scotty Scheffler made it look at times last week, it wasn't that easy. And Lucas Glover, I do think, is primed, ready to rock. Not that East Lake's the easiest golf course that there ever was. It definitely isn't. But that he's just primed and ready for this one. So Lucas Glover, going to be a part of my portfolio in a pretty prominent way. So I'd go over to the players page. Let's take a look why. To the PGA Tour we go. And also UFC Fight Night this weekend. 2 a.m. lock Pacific time. That's fire. 5 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully some people forget to put some lineups in. I like money, don't you? I do too. Let's go to Game Set, Tour Championship. And I just want to group it by total because Rory, Jon Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, all these guys. Tons of iterations of their card. But Xander Schauffele, not owned as much. I don't know why. So Xander Schauffele, a really good contrarian captain option. Something else, as we go down here, Lucas Glover has really great starting points, and he is the lowest owned player by anybody in the entire field. And I mean owned as in number of cards that people physically have of him. 16,120 are in print. Only 6,752 are currently owned as we are recording this right now. There's a ton that are existing in booster packs and other packs that are just sitting on the marketplace, wasting away in Margaritaville, looking for their lost shaker salt. And Lucas Glover, as a result, $3.75. It's still not enough relative to, there's only so many people who can play Lucas Glover. 6,752 iterations in the core contest. In the rare, 1,414. In the elite, 225. I'm telling you, this is the most underutilized page here on the Reignmakers page. Just period, end of story. You need to be utilizing this in your analysis. And as we develop tools here, as we help everybody figure out exactly how to best utilize it week in, week out, and how we can go about predicting ownership in Reignmakers, the easiest way I've been able to find out is just looking at this page for things like UFC, saying, hey, how many are actually owned for, how many people actually have it at this moment? Being able to see what's left in packs. Should I try to buy a pack to get a Rainmaker? How many Reignmakers do people have of these specific things? Of these cards? Nobody has Nakamura. There's two of them just sitting. There's one that's going to be an auction. And again, these are the things that you need to start doing in your analysis. I'm Max Holloway. Pretty expensive there in the old Rainmaker streets this week. He should be. He's going to smoke Korean Zombie. I like him, though, too. Chen Young, he's awesome. Seems like a good dude. Max Holloway seems like a really good dude, too. Doing some cool stuff for Hawaii. But let's finish this out, shall we? Let's do the large field GPP stuff because, well, I just wanted to share that nugget with you. Said I wasn't going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then I literally told you exactly what I was going to do. Put $1 and got a car. Put $1 and got a car. Oh, this is UFC. I'm playing a lot of UFC this week. PGA Tour, friends. Here we go. Top 30 in ties. Let's find ways to get different without being dumb, shall we? Cool. Large field. Again, Scheffler, Rahm, Hovland, McIlroy. I have all the big boppers that you want at the top, except for Cantlay. I'm going to be fading. Just not his golf course. Not his here. Let's short him together. Tyrrell Hatton. Barely made it into the Tour Championship. We know his Bermuda split's not going to be the main guy, but Jon Rahm is going for $7. Jon Rahm is going for $7. I know he's in the worst form of everybody, but it's Jon Rahm for less than half of this. And do you know where Jon Rahm is starting this week? 6 under. He's starting in 4th. You have Scheffler, Hovland, McIlroy, Rahm, Glover. And I love Glover. I absolutely love him for this week. But in terms of odds to win, Jon Rahm, 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, pretty much everywhere you look. DraftKings Sportsbook as well. Jon Rahm is a great, phenomenal large field captain option. He's going to be so underowned here in this contest where there are going to be a lot of lineups showing up. So Jon Rahm, auto click. Click it or ticket. Let's see your seatbelt fasten. Trunk rattling. We're not going to keep going. Tyrrell Hatton, talked about him a second ago. Finau, probably going to get rid of that one here and jump down to Tom Kim. Now, Tom Kim, friends, this is a fascinating spot for Tom Kim. Been in pretty good form going back to the trip he made overseas. That's kind of where he broke out at the Open Championship and the Scottish Open last year. Kind of rode that momentum last season and found himself winning in that afternoon. Didn't play in the Tour Championship there, from my understanding. Let me double check that. I don't want to be a liar. That would be bad. Yeah, he didn't play in this last year. The Memorial PGA Championship, US Open. Yeah, that's this year. The Wyndham, he won. That was in August. Shriners. Yeah, he won that as well. BMW. Yeah, FedEx St. Jude, BMW. Then he missed because he played terrible at the BMW. That's what it was. Lost 5.9 strokes game putting in that event. Whew, darling. He's gained 1 in 3.7 his last 2 weeks at the FedEx Cup and the FedEx St. Jude and the BMW Championship, with everybody being pretty good ball strikers. I should also take it off of this game log screen. I think Tom Kim, I didn't talk about him at all on the last show, but Tom Kim is somebody I'm contemplating making some buys for this week, mainly because I think Reignmakers is the best place that you can invest your money. DFS, there are only so many permutations because of salary. Here, I get unlimited permutations, and placement points are a thing. But if Tom Kim goes out and plays well, some of these other guys go out and play well. Sung Jae Im, who is going to be an interesting conversation point, I think, for DFS this week. Him, Jordan Spieth, where their prices are, I think make it a little bit of fascinating to see what people are going to do. But Tom Kim, an interesting buy this week as well. I'm going to throw Scheffler into this for right now, just because if I go Rahm, that's super, super insanely contrarian the way that I'm doing this. But one golfer I did talk about at length, talked about Russell Henley, Georgia Bulldog. Same thing with Sepp Straka, Georgia Bulldog. Sam Burns, LSU Tiger. Go Tigers. I'm Coach O. Except for he got fired, so I guess that doesn't count. Taylor Moore, friends. Let's bring it all together here. $1.14. Believe he was the cheapest golfer yesterday. Yeah, it looks like he's still the cheapest golfer. I kind of find that to be wrong. Taylor Moore, last week, played awful. 49th. Hideki Matsuyama withdrew, so he finished 49th, which is dead last in the field if you take Hideki out of consideration. But a week removed from 5th, Taylor Moore, pretty pronounced putting splits from Bermuda to other surfaces. And again, Bermuda, his preferred surface. So we're getting him back there. We know the ball striking can be there just about all the time. And then again, 5th in strokes gained putting amongst this field. The guy can roll the rock. He lost 8.7 strokes out of nowhere at the BMW last week. He phoned it in. He was so bad off the tee and with the approach that he was just like, you know what? I'll just get myself out of here. I, once again, should be zooming out of this. But Taylor Moore, price considered, if you're trying to round out lineups, if you have 4 cards and you're looking to round out a lineup with somebody else and just have a shot of somebody getting hot, putting up a ton of birdies, 72 holes of Taylor Moore on Bermuda, not my least favorite thing to be doing. Definitely going to be something that I'm going to intertwine with some of my builds as I'm rounding out lineups. Wyndham Clark, no thank you as much. Yeah, I'm okay with it. Mr. Fleetwood, don't mind that here either, friends. Keegan Bradley, nice to see him here at the Tour Championship. Morikawa, got a couple of those cards, so those are going to get played by default, even though, again, don't really find this to be my favorite golf course for him on planet Earth. But, friends, I think the time has come. I gave you the super cheapie of Taylor Moore. In the expensive golfer, there's no question about it. It's going to be Jon Rahm, $7. It's really hard to beat that at this current time and moment. In the mid-range, Tom Kim, $2.60. There's no way that isn't a fantastic buy if you're trying to round out lineups for this week as well. And to bring it all together, the cheapie, yeah, it's disgusting. Sam Burns, $1.79, don't mind it, but he is the cheapest golfer in the field, and I think he's more equipped for this golf tournament than other people think. $1.14. I'll go way to the bottom. The cheapest golfer in the field, Mr. Taylor Moore. All right, y'all. I will be back next week covering something in terms of Reignmakers. I don't know what that will be, but it might be NFL. I think that would be awesome. But get your free starter pack if you haven't. Get Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy right now. Sounds like a good way to do things if you haven't signed up and played here before. But I'm going to continue to round out my studio, get some of this echo out of here, just filling a room with things. That is important. Kind of like these lights, though. Just got to figure out how to intertwine them a little bit better. I'll be back next week. Until then, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck at the Tour Championship at East Lake this weekend.